everyone. We're going to get started at now 6:30. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit stickler for starting on time. So
Go for it.
I'm
No
sorry
worries.
about
We're
that.
good with it.
With that being said, we're going to call the meeting to order of the New Orleans Municipal Yacht Harbor Management Corporation. Today is Tuesday, August the 12th. We're getting started right now. Can you please roll call, please?
Keisha? Present. Christopher?
Present.
Mark?
Present.
Roger? Wendy? Here. Ryan? Lydia?
The quorum of officers present, and now declare the meeting open, whatever business is coming before it. Right now, we need to open up and amend the current agenda. Agenda was sent out. Need to amend the agenda. I need a motion, I guess, we have an amendment to the agenda on action items. To consider a motion to approve providing $130,000 funding to pay for the FEMA ineligible scope of the Fishing Pier restroom facility. So with that, I need an actual motion, second and then we'll take a vote to amend the current meeting agenda.
I'll move to amend the agenda for tonight.
Moved by Marquette and second by Keisha Turquette. Before I take the vote, I go to public comment on the matter.
I'm gonna get one.
2 minutes.
Cart.
Okay, this is to amend the agenda so that we can.
Oh,
then
I just have a question about what y'all just said.
So that we can then consider that action item. So if you want to, you're welcome to wait until we actually
Okay.
have the item, or if you want to have a comment about amending the agenda.
Okay. No, I don't have a comment about minute, I have a comment about,
And if there are no public comment at this time?
I'll go ahead and send a note on that. I'll have to, I don't know what it's called.
Public comment right now, you don't want to speak, or wait until we open the matter up?
I just, in general, I would think the public, I don't know how bad the urgency is to pass this, but maybe the public would have wanted to be here to comment on it. So not having it on the agenda, spending $130,000 is noteworthy. If the public didn't see it Friday to think about it, they wanted to come as comment. So that's my comment on it. I mean, I don't know how urgent it is to do it, but just in general, I think that if you're spending $130,000, the public would be notified in advance and vote to do that.
Your point well taken. Any other public comments on the amendment to the agenda?
No.
With that, we'll take a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Now we have a new agenda. The new agenda items, we'll go through the agenda as follows. We'll consider the motion to approve the $130,000 funding to pay for the FEMA eligible scope of Fishing Pier and restroom facility. The second action item, resolution authorizing a 10% boat slip rate increase starting January 1st, 2026. And we'll have our financial report, director's report, our committees, rules and standards, unfinished business, economic redevelopment committee, quality of life committee, and we always reserve the right, of course, to enter executive session for issues. With that, I'd like to get a motion to accept the current agenda, please. I have Ms. Cotrier, as moved and second by Ms. Wendy Washington. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. With that, we'll move into the actual agenda. Let's move into the actual action item.
2 minutes.
I'm sorry. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I need approval for the July 8th regular board meeting minutes, please.
I'll make a motion to accept the regular board meeting minutes.
It's been moved by Marquette. Give me a second, please. Second by Ms. Wendy Washington. With that, any public comment on the minutes? No public comment. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? I hear none. Motion carries. Approval of July 8th regular board meeting time, we'd like to get approval for the Finance Committee minutes from July 8th. So moved. Moved by Marquette. Second by Ms. Lydia Cottrell. Any public comment on the matter?
No.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. We'll move to the first action item at this time. Consider the motion to approve the providing $130,000 funding to pay for the FEMA ineligible scope of the Bishop Pier restroom facility. Brian,
Sure, we received a message from the Capital Projects Department yesterday evening, informing us that the funding for that, which was previously expected to come from bond sale, was taken out of that. So to move into the bid and award phase, that funding needs to be in place. So they asked us if we are willing to provide that funding, with the hope that it would be reimbursed by the city, although nothing's in writing. They said that they would do it, but it's not in writing. There is urgency. The deadline for the funds means that the facility needs to be completed by December 2026. There's not a lot of time to actually build the facility. So they asked us to push it onto the agenda for today. So we are doing, basically claim that everything wasn't the plan. It's been going through the normal plan. They just needed to identify another source of funding so that we don't lose the FEMA funding.
okay, so just to understand, we've been asked to move, expedite this because we don't want to lose the FEMA funding, and that's why we need to get it done immediately in order to get things done.
That's correct.
Does the board have any other comments on that?
Brian, what's our FEMA funding allotment for this project? Roughly,
I think it was $1.5 million.
Okay. Did they give you any insight on when that it was removed from the bonds, or is this a
Yes,
last minute?
yesterday.
I know they told you yesterday, I'm saying, like, how long have they done that?
Yesterday.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Anyone else have any other questions on the matter? Comments? No other comment?
Public comment, Liz?
Okay, Liz McAlpin, Boathouse 49,
Sorry, repeat your name.
Liz McAlpin.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I mean, maybe it was discussed at another meeting, I'm not positive, so just be patient with just telling me. There's going to be a restroom built out there?
Next to the fishing pier. There was previously a restroom facility at the old fishing pier, so it fell under the FEMA scope to replace what was done, just like the marina was rebuilt.
Yeah.
All the,
So like, what's this structure gonna look like?
It's a
Like a big?
18-foot tall with an elevator, restrooms.
Wow. Wow.
That's the FEMA requirement is.
Yeah. So just some big structure is now gonna be out there?
Next to the boat launch, yeah, it's basically next to the boat launch in front of, off to the side a little bit of the new fishing pier that's being built.
Wow. And who's gonna maintain it?
That falls to us.
Okay. Who's gonna- Wow. Okay.
Charles?
Yeah, I'm gonna say something I've been saying for a couple of years. My understanding is we used to get 100, I don't know how much money, but percent-wise, it'd be equivalent to about $100,000 from parks and parkways. And we used to be in their budget. So we've got until December 2026 to get this done. Maybe it's time to negotiate with the city and say, don't be so quick to respond. So we take 30 days. In the meantime, why aren't we putting us in the budget? Because the city uses the park, and previously it wasn't the budget. So if we're talking about how it's going to take care of this, it's going to fall on us. But at the same time, we keep spending our money to benefit the city, and the city doesn't have us in their parks and parkway budget. So I can say we should be negotiating with the city on that for a couple of years. And that, this to me would be time to finally say, you can't keep coming to us for money when you won't put us in your budget. Because the public uses our park. And I yield my time.
With that being said, can I get a motion from the board at this time to consider this motion to move forward to do this?
So is it not possible to wait till the September meeting for?
Capital Projects urged me to do this because they are ready to start the bid and award process. They're ready. So further delays cause more delays, especially when you're dealing with FEMA projects, because if something doesn't follow their path, then it resets things with them. So they strongly encourage me to that before we go to that.
Brian, can you give some background? Again, this has been something we've been talking about for a long time. It's been bid more than once, right?
No.
Or I mean, it's been in the works for a while.
Yeah. The design phase was bid. It was designed initially, so the building's designed. The architect that designed the building withdrew from the project because they're retiring. So it did go out to bid, kind of concurrently with the fishing pier. The two projects are separate, but they do works at the same time. So the design phase was rebid. They're currently using architects ready, and now the bid and award phase for construction.
Right. And so those bids have been received by the city.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just for everybody's knowledge, like, there is gonna be a time limit on how long those bids are good for, which is probably also another reason Capital Projects is pushing us, because otherwise we're gonna have to rebid this project, which is not a 1 month delay, that's a 3 or 4 month delay with the way the city works. So just for some background, like, this isn't something that like we just vote on, that those bids could get timed out and in turn, like they're looking at a 3 to 5 month delay, which is why they're probably asking for a quick turnaround.
Okay, so let me just be clear, so would we have to offer a new bid or not?
They're not gonna need a new bid currently, as long as the funding sources are in place for them to issue a notice to proceed within a timely manner.
Okay.
If they miss that, public law would state that they would probably have to rebid it after a certain time, because like contractors are only required to hold their bid for so long.
That's why it's being explained.
And Brian, what was the other funds we were requested for on the fishing pier?
There was $300,000 for the actual fishing pier.
Right, and this is
Portion.
Total 430 right now.
And the fishing pier project total as a whole is how much? The 1.5 plus?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
1.5, okay.
And that's currently, they're almost done driving pilings, they're ready to finish today.
Okay.
Okay, matters on the table for motion to proceed forward. Need a motion. So moved. It's been moved by Marquette,
Second.
second by Wendy Williams. Yeah, I'm sorry, Wendy. Please forgive me.
It's okay.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Wendy Washington, I'm so sorry. So we've already had public comment, I'll open the floor again. We do have a motion to move forward with funding. Open the floor for public comment, please. Again.
I'll just add, we don't know for sure that the bid thing would close. And the city obviously has money that they wanted it so badly that they got $700 million in their budget. They could find 150,000 so they wouldn't lose $1 million if they had to. So I just think that them not knowing what they're doing back there shouldn't be our problem, our emergency. And I would say that at one point say enough's enough and give us the reason next time. This time say no and say if you got it in the future, put it in, put a note in there so the public knows that we're going to lose this bid and all this other stuff's going to happen. Right now we shouldn't assume that. because we don't know for sure. And at the same time, do they have 130,000 laying around that they could make this happen out of somebody else's, out of some contingency fund or some other budget? If they would be allowed to go forward with this and then have a real debate in a timely manner, not a rush debate. Thank you for letting me follow up.
We have another comment.
Can we follow without another card? Okay, I'm just curious, I mean, will there ever be a matter or just at any time that anything that boathouse owners' concerns that we have or what we like or we don't like, is it ever going to matter? Or do we just come here and say what we like or, you know, what our concerns are and then don't just kind of nod your heads at us and then it just goes on? Is there ever going to be a time where something we say matters?
I think we've addressed several things that people have brought up in my 4 years, 3.5 years being on this board. Like, yeah, there's been requests for.
It just seems so frustrating.
I understand,
that
like, I'm sorry that you found out today that there's gonna be an 18-foot tall structure out there.
in front of
but-
my house.
Okay, but like, this FEMA, trust me, like, this predates any of us sitting on this board. FEMA does not work quickly. We're talking about, which happened 20 years ago? We're talking about getting this funding now. So like, this isn't something that like, we don't have purview over what FEMA approves. I can tell you right now, after working on FEMA projects in a professional capacity, you have to provide back what was there. So if there was a bathroom, I guarantee they're gonna tell you that $1.5 million, you gotta put back what was there. And it's gonna be allowed to meet code or required to meet code, which is now unfortunately BFE's 18 feet, just like it is for the boathouses. So that's, you know, that's just something that has to happen. And personally, for a public benefit corporation board, I'm glad we're gonna have a restroom there, because otherwise, where are people gonna use the restroom? We're inviting people to come here, and we should have the facilities for them to use. Just like Crescent Park has it, they have bathrooms, those kind of things. It's supposed to be a place that people can come and spend time. Part of that is having a bathroom for people to use. So this is, I mean, we're not hearing you, but did I want to show up to a meeting today and have to vote on something this short notice? No, but I also don't, this project is one we've been talking about for 4 years. I don't want to lose the funding for it at the $1.5 million value. So it's not that we're not hearing you. There's been plenty of things that we have done. I mean, that event that happened a couple of months ago that got out of hand the first time, right? Brian was very proactive based on the community's feedback, and we addressed that. So we are hearing what the community has to say. There's just certain things that are logistical construction matters that are gonna have to be done in a way that are gonna proceed because they need to be done. That's what we're here to do. We're here to put back everything and keep this area moving forward.
They do need bathrooms. You know, there's plenty of times I've had one there. Can you please put in an actual comment?
Karen? So if I may, just for Liz's sake, this project, this proposal of the fishing pier and the building have been around for long before any of y'all were on the board, probably dating back to the very earliest of the meeting after Katrina in 2007, 2008. From that time to today, it's a bad idea. Now, I came in kind of late, so I apologize. If there is the ability on this board to reconsider what is being done there, whether it be by withholding our matching funds to get the money, or somewhere down the line, I would ask this board to take another look at it. Because let me tell you why. It's not an 18-foot building. It's going to be a 35-foot building, because it's going to start at 18 feet. It's going to be in a place that's going to obstruct the view of some boathouse owners moving forward. You have to have bathrooms. Bathrooms are advisable. You've got to replace what was there. That's not where the bathrooms were. The bathrooms were to the south side of what is now of the parking lot of the boat launch. That's where the fishing pier was. And you could put the building there, and it wouldn't obstruct any boathouse owner in the future, and it wouldn't interfere. Now, to the extent that you disagree about anything being crammed down the boathouse owners' throats or not listen, because your predecessors and this board has been incredibly responsive to the things that we can do. I don't know if this has gone too far. It certainly was well in place before any of you were on the board, and I can understand that. But if you have an opportunity to in some way alter what's being done there, whether it be in the placement of weather comfort station, I think they refer to it as, or whether we would have one at all. I mean, there's bathrooms here in this building that could be made accessible to the public. Then I'd like you to take another look at it. If not, I understand it's something that was on the books and ready to go long before y'all came on board. And if you feel either that you can't do anything, or if you can, I'd like you to look at it. If you feel like it's still the best place for it, then I can understand your position. But if you have the ability to look at it in some way, reconsider what's there, I'd appreciate your attention.
I do have a few questions, and I don't know if you can answer them or not, or maybe someone on the board. It was just told to me that the pilings for the fishing pier they're all but complete at this point.
Yeah.
And I know these are two separate projects, but a comfort station needs to be in close proximity of the actual fishing pier. And these plans, like you said, were many, many, many years ago. And I'm wondering why on the planning process of this, there wasn't more input, so that we're not here at this particular point doing structural processes to put these things in place. And now we're trying to pump the brakes, but we have deadlines now because it's set on the books so long, and that we're in danger of losing funding if we pump the brakes. That's the biggest fear and what has been presented at this point. Otherwise, we would not be here trying to, within 2 days, bring this up. This would have been on the agenda long before. And if there's anything we can do to accommodate what you're saying, I would love to inquire and do that. But at this point, for us to withhold funding, we could lose, everything. But I would like to inquire, are there alternatives at this point? It's just, I just have so many questions as to why do we get to this point and then say this, it's sort of like building a house. You've done everything that you need to do, and you've placed, you put the foundation in, and then you decide that you're not going to build the house. And I'm a little bit puzzled, because to get to this level and this point, when we're starting to do financing to build it, is now we're trying to pump the brakes. And I guess I'm just troubled that what happened during the planning process to get it put in the appropriate place so that we could benefit everyone and everyone would be comfortable with it.
And I think I can answer your question. And first, I understand the idea. You don't want to lose the money, and I don't want to see you lose the money.
I do want to make one, but it's not only just losing the money that we're getting. If the project is not completed, FEMA will ask for the money that's already been spent, which is the entire design phase.
Yes.
So you're looking at over $100,000 that we would have to pay back regardless.
Well, and that's a lot, and I'm not suggesting that you be in that position, and that's a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of things, I have to say, it's not a lot of money. Because let me just say something. If we have another Katrina-type storm, the first thing that's going to go in, the thing that's going to take the biggest brunt of the weight of the action, is your comfort station and your fishing pier. If you would like, I would be glad to share with you the photos of the boathouses after Katrina. And you will see that the boathouses facing the north, and the north side facing breakwater, sustained much less damage than the boathouses facing west, for two reasons. One, we had some land in front of us that helped break the action of the wave. More importantly, when the storm comes through and it switches around, the most force comes from the northwest, so you have a 60-mile stretch of unobstructed motion for the waves to come and build their force, and the first thing they hit, your comfort station and the boathouses facing west. I'm gonna tell you that that's coming down, unless they build it better than to the Florida standards. And they're not gonna do that, in my opinion. But, back to the question, so again, I don't wanna see the funding being lost, and I'm not asking that to happen. As far as the planning stage, as I said, this started, very early on, 2007, 2008. There was a lot of opposition to it from the boathouse owners at the time. The board at the time, going along with what was the city's process, we were told the design was going to be by, and I don't know the architectural firm that was doing all of the city's work at the time. That was the first one they got picked. And they designed the pumping station, they designed the fishing pier there, and that was the decision. So from my perspective, I realize from your perspective, we're coming here very late with an opposition. When it was presented for approval and there was opposition, the board chose to place it there. And I understand that, and that's why, and been waiting all along for this thing to progress, move along. It is 2 projects, and if the fishing pier could be put there and finished, you wouldn't lose the money then. And then if the comfort station could be relocated back to where it was, which is not that far from the fishing pier, it's right there at the beginning of where the parking lot is, for the boat launch and the fishing pier. Might be walk half a block instead of 50 feet, but it's there. And then that would not obstruct the view of any boathouse. Would not obstruct the view of any boathouse to the, not, obviously anything will sometime, but it won't be right in front of anybody, and it won't be sitting right there in the most prominent place. It'll still get hit by the weather, because it's going to be right there in that westward facing part. But again, since we're back in the design position is what I'm hearing, perhaps the placement could be changed.
It's not the design, it's the award phase.
Yeah,
But
again, I'm kind of feel like I'm behind and ignorant here, because this was something that was a fait accompli. It was done many years ago. We were just waiting for whatever it was for it to get around to being done. But sitting here, when I heard the first talk, it sounded like this might be an opportunity for this board, which frankly, and I'm not trying to patronize you, has been, of all the boards, the most responsive and the most considerate of the boathouse owners' position. Not that the other boards weren't, but y'all have always been much more so. From just hearing it, it sounds to me like there might be an opportunity to change what I believe is a mistake. And if it can be, if you'll have that opportunity, I'd appreciate that you would look at it and think about it.
I don't want to overstep our authority, but I think what you're saying, if it does not, if it's not something that's a good idea, and I'm sitting here scratching my head as to how we got to this point again. If it needs a second look, I think we need to approve our funding, but if we have the opportunity to relocate at this point, I know they're awarding it, but if we have those opportunities, I think that conversation was had to do what's best for the people here. And actually just not the people, but the city as a whole, because we're building this long term. I'm open to questioning the decision, but at this point, I don't want to go back and then miss this window, in funding wise. So I would ask, and I guess I'm leaning towards, I want to approve the funding, and if we have the opportunity to make those corrections or changes, then we need to do so. It is where I only can speak for myself. I know we have another board here, and I'd like to dig into what has happened in the past to get us to this point, and why was it not discussed, or if it was discussed, the board had a previous decision as to why, or a recommendation that forced it to be there. I'm open completely to exploring that idea.
And I appreciate that. Thank you.
Again, I'm trying to learn what's happening, but the wording of the FEMA ineligible scope, does that potentially, that come back to bite us in terms of being able to get the reimbursement later? Because if we're saying that.
it'd be reimbursed from the city, not the.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right, so that's still that opportunity to get it in writing.
Are there any other Any other public comment at this point on the matter?
No.
Discussion?
Sorry. Yes, Mr. Potts.
So I do think that we do need to have a comfort station out there, no doubt. Having lived in one of the boathouses facing west, there are plenty of times when people are using the ground and right outside of the car and things like that. So it is definitely something that we need there. And of course, if it could be moved back to where it was, that would likewise maybe serve some of the people that are parking along the west side there, because there's always people there looking at sunset, taking pictures, and all kinds of things there. So I do think that's a great idea to see if it could be moved. And again, I didn't hear where it's going to be. The fishing pier is a silly place where they're building that pier, exposed to the lake, worst case, but nonetheless, that's where it is. But and I guess you can't change that at this point.
I don't know at this point, so I'm over here.
No,
Not the Peter Jackson facility.
I think he's saying the pier too.
No, not the pier, no.
Pilings, a pier, it's gonna be a pier, I would imagine, at some point. You know, and they're taking forever, in my opinion, to do whatever it is that they've done there. They're not there every day working like you would hope that the contractor would be doing. And I don't know if that's you all or the federal government in charge of that. The federal government, I get it, but, you know, it's terrible, the amount of work that's getting done is very little. So, and if you all paying something for it, you probably could maybe have some say so. You know, in my opinion, it's very slow. You know, but we do need it slow. And thank you for putting the poo bags out there for the dogs.
Any other comment on the matter? With that being said, we will now take a vote on the matter from the board. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? I hear none. Motion carries to approve the funding for $130,000 with the actual comment that we do need to go look into possibly what can be done as far as the comfort station and the actual placement of that comfort station to find out what's going on. Next item on the action agenda is a resolution authorizing a 10% boat slip rate increase starting on January 1st, 2026. Yes, please, if we can read that resolution, please.
A resolution authorizing boat slip lease rates for Municipal Yacht Harbor beginning 2026. Whereas the New Orleans Municipal Yacht Harbor Management Corporation is a public benefit corporation of the City of New Orleans, which leases from the City of New Orleans its property rights at West End. And whereas MYHMC is responsible for leasing boat slips in and the management of the New Orleans Municipal Yacht Harbor. And whereas MYHMC is responsible for the development of boat slip lease rates for Municipal Yacht Harbor. And whereas MYHMC staff researched and analyzed current market forces, increasing expenses, and inflationary forces to recommend a 10% increase in slip lengths for all boat slip leases renewing or starting January 1st, 2026. Resolved, the Board of Directors of MYHMC authorizes and adopts the proposed boat slip rates to begin January 1st, 2026, which is attached as Exhibit A, and requests that the New Orleans City Council approve the proposed rates. The undersigned certifies that they are properly appointed and qualified Secretary of the MYHMC, a corporation duly conformed pursuant to the laws of the state of Louisiana, and that said meeting was held in accordance with state law and with the bylaws of the above-named corporation. This resolution has been approved by the Board of Directors of MYHMC on the 12th of August, 2025.
With that being said, now we'll open the floor and I guess further discussion on the increase of rates. I can actually ask Brian, the last time we increased rates, in my understanding, was 3 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. And we're moving forward with this schedule, and that's roughly a little bit more than 3% in the past 3 years that we were kind of increasing. to move along with everyone else. So at this particular point, I'll open the discussion with the board on if they have questions on this rate increase. Okay, hearing none. Do we have any comment cards on the rate increase?
We do not.
Hearing that there is no public comment on the matter, I now open the floor for a motion to accept the increase and to pass this resolution for the increase for January 1st of 2026. We can have a motion, please.
I'll make the motion to accept the resolution for the first increase.
We have a motion from Ms. Lydia Cottrell, second by Mark Heck. I will again open the floor for public comment on the matter. We have one public comment card coming, please. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, I know it's a hazard, but we have to maintain.
Why do we really have to do that?
Well, we'll leave the card out, we have to. Yes, sir. Please state your
My name is Tom Long, I'm a tenant in Municipal Yacht Harbor.
Yes, sir.
My only question is, what is the intended use of the additional funds? Do you absolutely need it, or because the harbor is fully rented out, you just want it?
I mean, I can take that.
I mean, and I'll let you answer and I'll come in after. Okay, go ahead.
So right now we're operating with, we are unable to fund our long-term obligations like dredging, dock replacement based on the surplus we have from operating expenses. So because we are operating within the amount of money we make, but we are not funding our own internal long-term goals. So yes, we need it for that. Also, market forces, the fact that the marina is full, comparables all show that we're currently under, our rates are lower. All the paperwork's over there and lots of justification. Orleans Marina just raised their rates. This 10% increase will still be lower than their rates. I'd love to be more than Orleans, and I think we should be more than Orleans, but I don't think that doing more than 10% at this point would be palatable to the marina tenants.
By the way, I don't disagree, it should be more than Orleans Marina.
Yeah. So, and then compared to others, Gulfport is, Mississippi is equivalent. Halifax Marina and Pensacola, I guess, our proposed increase is on a, let's just do a 40%.
There is no Halifax.
There is
no,
no,
there.
I mean, well, that whole area, there's 3 marinas all kind of together.
Not one of them is available.
Well, then their rates are 3 times what ours are. St. Pete Marina, just as an equivalent municipality that we use, their rates are about 2.5 times what ours.
Well, I, without going into that, I would suggest to you that South Florida and New Orleans are completely different markets. But
I agree.
my question is, okay, if you need the money, you know, is there a stated use of the funds of the additional 10%?
There's not a stated use of that specific allocation of 10%.
So you just want it?
If we would like to fund our long-term goals like dredging, we need it. We could choose to not dredge every 10 years, but our plan is to dredge every 10 years if needed.
Okay.
We could choose not to replace all the wooden dock whalers after 30 years. That's approximately $5 to $10 million, depending on what they said. If we don't have $5 to $10 million, those whalers are going to disintegrate, the docks are going to fall apart. Now, I won't be here. That's in 30 plus years.
Chances are none of us will be.
But the goal is to have these funds filled so that future users of the marina can enjoy a well-maintained, functioning marina. So right now, we're not funding those.
Let me just, so the marina is, right now, under the current revenue, is not losing money.
Correct.
It's not making a whole lot of money,
Correct.
but it is making a profit. Okay, so this 10% will go into not specific projects or not specific improvements, but long-term planning for things like dredging and replacement in 30 years.
Essentially.
Future reserves for capital projects that are going to be required.
So it's what you want and not what you need.
No, it's what's necessary to maintain. What happens is we have a responsibility to manage not just for today, but for the future. And preparing, because these things have limited lives, we do have to do these improvement projects to keep things functioning.
That's one way to look at it, yes. Okay.
Mr. Potts?
Just to follow up on that, the money that's coming in, will that be dedicated to these future projects specifically? So it would not get spent on, you know, employees, trucks, whatever other stuff we got yet?
It's just, we have a budget that we go through annually, and we go through that budget to responsibly allocate what we're going to do. So, just for your knowledge, we don't just jump and say we're gonna do something. We try and maintain the budget, and we use that, and we actually have to present a budget to the city as well to be approved to move forward. So we're not gonna just take this 10% all of a sudden go splurge from somewhere. That budget is there, we're planning so that we can manage responsibly.
But that can be changed on a yearly basis, anytime you
It will
set
still
the
come
budget.
before the it will still come before the public and everyone else before we do anything to do things. We will bring it before the public. Yes.
The main thrust of my comment card though was, are we at 100% or close to it with respect to the?
Yeah.
And so the raising of the rent fees, do you think that's going to cause any people to say, okay, I've had enough and leave?
I hope so.
Okay, and if so, do you have a waiting list of people to?
Yes,
So you think you'll be able to fill the slips up right away?
yes.
Gotcha. All right, and then the other question I have is, why do we have to fill out these comment cards every time we want to open our mouth?
Because that's part of the policy here that we use to keep track of our meetings. Right now, we have a meeting that's relatively friendly, but when we have a meeting that's very, very a contentious matter, we have to maintain order, and that's the process that has been put in place.
So do you have to give you know, my proper name or just a name? Where does all this information go?
That you give us your proper name for public records, so we can responsibly put forth minutes and report this meeting as a public, we can do it properly.
Yeah. Or take some sort of action against the people that are stirring the pot, and know who they are and where they are, right?
Not at all. Not at all.
I'm sorry, I just have one other question
Sir,
for my comment.
Sir?
I would not serve here as a volunteer to do this if I had that type of malicious intent. I'm sorry. Sorry. Are you finished?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
If it's allowed, I do have one follow-up question.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
How much will this 10% increase generate to the bottom line, or to the top line, I'm sorry?
Pull it up. We went over it last month when we did the budget. Pull it up.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I meant to ask the quantitative question first.
Yeah, we went over the budget expecting that this new increase for next year would take place. So. It's about $150,000.
Okay, is that enough to replace the defective breaker like a power pedestal?
They did the trip again?
It's about to. No, okay, I just wanted to know, so generally, you'll be generating $150,000 a year to build up a long-term fund?
Yes.
Okay.
With that, I'll now call for the actual vote to approve this resolution and increase. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? I hear none, motion carried. We will carry any increase. increase for January 1st, 2026, increasing rates by 10%. Mr. Watkins is not here. Can we, Frank and Andy, read through the financial report? Yes, please, Mr. Watkins, for his absence.
Financial report for July 2025. As of July 31st, 2025, MYHMC has total assets of $18,128,700 with current assets of $4,395,000, and the bulk of which is in the form of cash of $4,222,300, two accounts at JP Morgan Chase Bank. Net fixed assets total $1,167,300. Other assets include leases receivable of $12,186,000 and deferred outflow of pension resources of $375,700. On the liability side, MYHMC has total liabilities of $13,311,600, of which $608,300 are current liabilities, consisting mainly of accounts payable and accrued expenses of $88,900, unearned revenues of $354,600, and accrued annual leave and sick leave of $154,900. Long-term liabilities consist of a net pension liability of $941,100 and $11,762,000 for deferred inflow of long-term leases. That leaves MYHMC with total equity of $4,817,200, of which $4,317,200 is unrestricted net assets. For the month of July, MYHMC had total revenues of $194,100, with total expenses of $152,100, resulted in a net profit of $42,000. Year-to-date revenues are $1,412,400, with total expenses of $1,193,200, resulting in a year-to-date net profit of $219,000. Current slip occupancy is 98%, which is essentially 100% because of churn and slip transfers.
That being said, I'd open up for any discussion that the board might have concerning the financial report. Are there any public comment cards on the financial report?
No.
With that being said, I will open the floor to get a motion to accept the financial report, please. So moved by Marquette. Second by Keisha Turquoise. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. The financial report has been approved. We're now going to move on to the director's report, please, Brian.
Derelict abandoned boats process is continuing. A couple of them are gone. Fishing pier pilings are almost complete. I will state that they can't drive pilings in the water when the wave heights are above a certain amount. So the north breezes cause them problems. I'm not an expert, but that's the explanation that I got. The new truck that we are purchasing, which will also allow us to add a grounds maintenance worker, custodian worker, is scheduled to be built this month in August. We do not have an ETA yet. Staff, again, we're on hold for a maintenance custodian until we get the truck, maybe something to use. We had a question about Boathouse 151 status. That owner is in the process of getting a permit. And they're calling us from safety permits trying to do it, so they are actively working on it. Pond upgrades, it's on my list to get some kind of aeration system in there. Hopefully there'll be some better view. I'll show some more progress later next month. The auction of Boathouse 31, still working on that. No update on any West End development, and West End development expenses for this last invoice, $4,317, for a total of $121,979 for 2025. That completes the report.
Any comments from the board on the director's report? Any public comment on the director's report?
Come in.
No problem.
we approved the CEA from Orleans side. Is the CEA approved for West End development from all related parties?
There's been, the CEA has not been approved by
It's not.
anybody.
Okay, because there was a vote here in the springtime, and we made the motion to approve it here, but it still hasn't been approved by Orleans?
The city, the board gave me the ability to approve it
Yeah.
with conference with a couple of the board members, board president. But no, it has not gone past that.
So it hasn't gone past that, so it's sitting with the city council?
It's in negotiation between Jefferson Parish and Orleans Parish.
What's the negotiation? The document's already written.
It's not.
It's not.
That's why the authority allowing me to sign it was made in that way, so that.
So when it is negotiated, then it can be signed. Are we still paying Stone Pigman our fee on a monthly basis for negotiations?
The Stone Pigman at this point has been asked to, as they say, pencils down. So they are not actively doing anything regarding this. These invoices are essentially 2 months old based on how things are invoiced. We still utilize Stone Pigman for other work. Like we recently had to pay them to submit a response to a attorney general complaint against us. So lots of money being spent for things that are.
We all need lawyers and guns. But back to the CEA, are you a party to the negotiations? Are you at the table?
I'm aware of them.
Do you have? Can you summarize? Where are we? Are we close? Or
No, it's up to the politicians. We're not a politician. I'm not a politician.
well, I know. I'm just because there's no news of this. It's not in the paper.
No, you would have to get a comment from council members.
So this would be Joe's purview.
Also Rosenberg's purview, also the mayor's office, because they're party to it.
Cool. All right. Thank you. Here you go, Charles. Find out. Report back.
No other public comment on the drainage report? So I need a motion to accept the report, or can I move forward?
Technically, you only need to do a motion, like an action item, so please.
That's fine. Next item on the agenda, no rules and standards committee, unfinished business. We did committee assignments last month, but what I needed to do at this point is I'm going to sit on all of the actual boards there, so I wanted to make sure that we put that I would be sitting on all the boards to assist or just kind of sit in. Sometimes they may need to be a quorum for the people that sit on the committee assignments, so I am going to add myself to all the committees to be a part of that. So I want to bring that by. Do I have to have that before?
No, you're
for that. So to make sure that they want to put it in the record that I would sit on all committees in order to support everything that's going on, or if needed to make the quorum, I would be there to sit on all committees. Economic Redevelopment Committee, we don't have anything with that. Quality of life, we did have a meeting today at 5:30. I will, I guess, go through some of the items that were presented to us in a nutshell. I do have the other members of the board that sat on the Quality of Life Committee meeting. It was brought to our attention a few items, first and foremost on trimming the trees, palm trees and things like that, that we needed to pay or put in our schedule to do it on a regular basis, to trim them for beautification in area and put it as long as we don't knock our budget out, but we need to put that on an actual regular schedule, maybe not every year, but every few years in order to maintain them. Additionally, grass cutting on a regular basis, although it's been doing every 10 days, it's still not quite doing well. I did take a look over and see quite a bit of grass debris or high grass that's still sitting on top of the lawn, so maybe we need to look into maybe more frequently cutting the lawn during the summer months, and it was brought to our attention with that. We also spoke about the actual brick area to the right of this building that's white, needs to be pressure washed and painted. We did enter in and speak with possibly doing a service project or the community painting that once it's properly pressure washed with the proper chemicals to etch it, and maybe do a community beautification project along that area to pressure wash the actual concrete banister.
Balustrades.
The balustrades that are along the side of this. So it was discussed, and I'd like to open up some type of communication, and maybe we can get together with Friends of West End and do a service project about that. So I would like to put that on the table, that maybe we can do something like that as a community project, as long as we can purchase the appropriate paints to do that. But we will have to have it commercially or professionally pressure washed, and then we can probably do a community project to paint. So I'd like to put that out there. Maybe it's something we can get together and work together with our community leaders to get that done. Did I miss anything else? An uptick in nutri in the area, and I learned quite a bit about nutri. We do need to look to see what we can do to trap those, because they're becoming a nuisance again. They're also attracting alligators and things like that that may come into the area. So we need to look into possibly doing some trapping for the nutria in the area, because we have cycles that we trap them, and the populations go down and then they go back up again. So that's becoming a complaint as well. Well, the noise from fields is, that would be something that would be with the city that's on the other side of the pond, that's outside of our pond, that's outside of our jurisdiction. So although it was reported and something that we can find out about, we do not have the authority to address that area so I did ask about it, but it's outside of our authority. What else would we? Brian, it was brought in, a question was asked us, as we continue to develop the fountain and we make this area more desirable for the public, we do need to talk about how we're going to handle traffic and parking. So as we continue to develop things, and I want to put it in the public, that we need to start to discuss how we're going to address, as we continue to petition here and all these great things online, maybe discuss a parking plan for the area as well. It was just good ideas. And I'm going to depend on, did we get everything that in the actual?
Also the 50K from the Friends of West End for the fountain that's already there.
Can I ask if you would stand up and address the board on the 50K, and as you reported through the actual quality of life, if you would, for Friends of West End?
Sure, thank you. It's just an update. It's not something new to Brian and the administrative side. We've been working on a grant which we've been awarded but hadn't received the funds. It was just an update that the funds are now in our bank account for $50,000 to help with the fountain mitigation and restoration for basic fountain use, with the understanding that your group would also budget an additional $50,000 to have a $100,000 budget for the project. It's something Brian has been on our subcommittee and been working very closely, and it's nothing new to your group. I just want to bring it up that we actually have the funds in our bank account and ready to share it with you when we get to a final resolution. Brian's working on some logistics with plumbing and excuse me, electricity and water out there to make sure we can meet budget. And once, and correct me if I'm speaking out of
No, that's correct.
And but once we get a few big questions answered, we'll know whether we can meet budget. Assuming we can move forward with the project. So it's something you've already resolved in a resolution earlier this year to move forward with, and Brian's doing his due diligence to make sure that we can meet budget. It was just an update that we actually have the funds in escrow, and we're not waiting for them to be given to us, which is just an unknown that's been covered. Is that just it?
That's fine. And I mean, I'll say actually, there is a conduit that goes from inside the fountain out to the street on North Roadway, and I actually engaged with our plumber to see if they can chase it and see if it can be used. That's the basement. If it can be, it's much more likely that it's possible that they have a budget. If it can't, it would require boring and tunneling and lots of other things. So the budget is allocated.
Can we make sure that in the budget, I know we're working hard to get this fountain operational, but I'll put it again. That's the brief side, but then once it's operational, we're gonna have to try and raise funds to continue to maintain it. Otherwise, we will have a brief period where we can enjoy the fruits of putting it back for everyone's enjoyment, but if we don't maintain it, it will only be brief. So I wanna make sure that when we create our budget, that we also keep in mind that there must be some type of maintenance that we need to build in, and with the idea that we need to maintain and continue to service the fountain.
Excuse me, but if I could, so in our last meeting where we had fountain experts come in to advise us and Brian, that was addressed and we put a budget together. So that's an ongoing process, but that's not been ignored. And we understand what those numbers look like on an ongoing basis. So it's certainly part of the process, and we're hopefully Friends of West End will be engaging again and more so that we can help fund these types of things.
Would that be everything with the quality of life that we did address? I'll now open the floor for public comment. People did come in and give quite a bit of quality of life, but I don't want to leave anything out. These issues need to be on the floor so that we can be mindful of them and actually improve.
Forget it. I'll drop this off.
I guess two things for the meeting, and one of the thoughts I had, in reinforcing what you said, is the video was great and done, and it indicated that thousands of people used to come out and watch the fountain. So I do have a parking concern that if we have dozens even right now, where would those people park? So I really think we have to look at our parking situation out here. And one thought is like, you know, the parking lot maybe at one point, we've heard that as I was looking at some other comments over the years, whether or not we should try to get that parking lot being used for parking because of the shortages we have with other reset the park or the Christmas things or other events. So parking should be really concerned as far as we keep adding incrementally facilities out here, community sailing, and people do boats, sunset sailing, and every time you do that, you don't seem to add parking spaces for those activities. And there should be some looking at doing that. On the palm trees, I actually end up trimming mine like twice a year. And, you know, so I know we talk about it every other year cycling them through, but the palm trees seem to be getting cut like once in the spring and once in the fall. It doesn't take that long, but it would be, since we all pay money into the upkeep of the park, it'd be great to think about having that as something that we get back from our dues or whatever it's called to you guys, is that the palm trees are cut, because you need a lift as they grow tall. I mean, you can try to do the little ones at your own or in a ladder or whatever, but once they get to a certain height, it takes about 30 minutes, but it'd be nice to have somebody that's professional just come down the street and zip. They drop off pretty fast. Thank you.
I'd probably I would probably defer to professionals and their opinion on how to do it. We don't, I know how we feel, but I think I defer to them. We don't want to do anything that might harm them or do anything, so we'll defer and talk to them and see what needs to be done to get a schedule. And I think it would be fair to come back and report to the public on what we found in order to try and get that done. Okay.
Thank you.
See that there's nothing else that's on the agenda, nothing come forth to the board. I'll now entertain a motion for adjournment.